Welcome to another talk of our Congress, Consciousness, Being Yourself. It is my pleasure today to talk with Vanessa Gabor. She is a medium, consultant, and energy therapist. Welcome, Vanessa. Thank you. So far, you asked in all the interviews, what is consciousness for you? What does being yourself mean for you? And that's what I would also like to ask you. So, what is consciousness for you? For me, consciousness has two facets. One facet for me is to investigate an unknown world, so to find out what is there outside of my personal world. What kind of energies are there? What is happening outside? To find explanations, that's what I'm dealing with. All I know is that there are energies which we can't see, but feel. But they have a huge impact on us. I really like to connect to these energies because that's where I can feel what life can be. That is, to give up old views, what life is like pain and sorrows and so forth. And the other part of consciousness is, in my opinion, who am I? So to search in myself. This is a very long journey. At the beginning I was trying to find out who am I with my mind. But nowadays I can feel with my heart who am I. Why do I react like this? Why did I have all this drama in my life? Like broken relationships, for example. Why? So when I had a crisis, I didn't ask myself, why did my husband leave me? I asked myself, what does this have to do with myself? So this question, what does it have to do with myself, was the trigger into myself. What kind of opinions and views do I have in myself? What kind of behavior patterns do I have inside of me? Why do I react like this? Why is everything the way it is? And this debate brought me to the spiritual way. Before, I was rather a realist. Even though I had a job where I helped people, I was a realist. I did everything with my mind. That was my way to survive. Would you say that your spirituality was something that you learned? Or was it rather that you found your soul by talking to yourself and feeling yourself? My spirituality was a very long way, step by step, with very deep meditation experiences, to realize that there are so many different views about my life, and I found a lot of new aspects in my life. There are so many aspects in my life that I can look at. It was a bit like a training course to see life from a different perspective. First, it was a perception. It was to realize, oh, this is the way I am thinking. And then to review, is this right? What is going to happen if I keep on thinking like this? And also here I did a lot of work with my mind, with my brain, to look at things and wonder, is this old or is this new? And so step by step I also came to the emotions, very deep feelings. It's like cleaning your basement and then cleaning an even deeper basement and an even deeper basement like this. And I don't know if there's a basement even deeper than that. For me, to clean up means to look at things. What is in all the different rooms that I locked up? And is this a process that you do only by feeling? Or did you came to the point where you oscillate between thinking and feeling? It is a process that nowadays I do with perception. I developed like a very fine antenna which is an ability to perceive something. And it is this very deep feeling. How does this show? What is coming towards me? What do I absorb? Not what is happening superficially, but what is coming behind that? And this training of perceiving brought me to a very deep calmness. It also helped me to not react emotionally instantly, but also to sometimes just take a breath and perceive and observe, how do I react now? I also had great teachers. We were also working on shamanism, and I was quite fascinated by the healer of the North. And back then they said that the healer of the North, the warrior of the North, not the healer, the warrior, he's always looking twice before he's doing anything. And this looking twice allows me to be in a calmness. I don't have to react right away. I can take my time and then I can decide, how do I want to react. This time taking breaks up old structures, but with them you can at least check, why do you want to react like this now? Is it necessary to react like this now, or is there any other possibility to react now? And is this looking twice a technique to be in the here and now? Yes, this looking twice helps me to find my inner self. What are my feelings? Do I have to be upset now or not? Are there any other options to deal with the situations? And sometimes I'm upset for like 2 minutes and then I start laughing because I realize it doesn't matter. I don't have to put so much energy into something that I just can't change. I cannot change other people, I cannot change the location. I can only change my attitude. And that's what I've learned with all my different educations. I can only change my attitude towards what shows. I cannot change my surroundings. I cannot turn off your voice. I cannot turn off the chirping of the birds. I can only accept it and integrate it. And to integrate means I stop fighting. We often like to fight against something because we don't agree, but if we agree, you stop fighting. And that's what I mostly learned in dealing with fear. It was quite interesting and fascinating. I was once involved into a research project where they wanted to find out about MDMA. So I decided I take part as a subject. It was a scientific study. They wanted to find out how does the MDMA react chemically and so forth. So I took it and they wanted to take a blood sample from me, but they took 2 hours and my body refused to give a single drop of blood. The study was conducted by a psychiatrist and a chemist and also a pediatrist, and they were standing around me and were wondering why. But I said, what do you mean? And then the psychiatrist came with a blood pressure monitor and I said, What do you mean? It's just fear, it's nothing else. And that was my first real confrontation with fear. So you were able to like look at it. So how did you react to it? Well, it was just a feeling. I didn't do anything with it. I just said, it's just fear. And as soon as I said out loud, it's just fear, they were able to take a blood sample from me. Then it worked. And I showed myself how the body reacts to fear. It was a very great experience. Back then I was a nurse, and after this moment I was able to take blood samples from everybody because I knew if it doesn't work, it's only fear. And with this confrontation, I felt there's something really big. I wasn't afraid, it was just a matter of course, this fear. Like me. So, would you say that fear is like a natural barrier where you like hit against in order to feel something? Yeah, that's when the work started. So that was like 1988, 89. And in a talk afterwards, the psychiatrist said, I didn't know that you were so afraid. And I said, oh, neither did I. So he said, what are we going to do now? And then step by step, I confronted myself with this fear. When something is so huge, then it's a very huge protection. So I found out fear is protection from experiencing to be hurt again, protection from pain and sorrow, also protection from not having to change anything, because fear is like when it is a survival mechanism. If you can't feel it, then you are confronted with it, then you have to change all your life strategy. And that was a blockade not to really feel. The fear caused that I cannot feel anything at all. I mean, like deep feelings like love. Yeah. I always thought that I was loving, but it wasn't like a real love. It was like a pre-stage. I also have never been ecstatic or absolutely happy. I just didn't know it. For me, it was like being on waves, but very, very gentle waves. But then I started to really deal with fear, to accept fear as a teacher. There's so many things fear taught me. Fear taught me control. Fear has a lot of helpers, and these fear partners, I'd say, to refuse, to resist, to deal with these things and not to run away is the only possibility how you can find peace with your fears. So nowadays, when I'm afraid of something, I put fear next to me. I'm not all covered anymore by fear. Back then I was all covered But in the meanwhile, fear is standing next to me when she's coming. And then I start crying, and then I realize, okay, there's fear again. What is going on? And then I start talking to her. I ask her, what do you want to show me? What happened? What do you want me to be protected from? And as I know, as an inner truth, that I'm not here for the first time. I know that I brought fear with me as like my life task to free myself from this fear. Everyone thinks that we all have to have a very huge life task, but sometimes it's just to free yourself from something and to stay like this. And fear for me nowadays is a very valuable partner because it shows where I can find where people are hurt when I'm working with them. Is it in this life or is it going further back? We can solve a lot of things in this life, but sometimes it's also a hint that the origin lays way back. And fear showed me where, in my case, is the origin. And it's way, way back. At one point, we decided to come to this earth and live duality. Good, bad, all these things. And in order to do this, something was separated from us. And this fear developed back then, this fear that I can never ever go home back again. It was a very deep feeling that I can never go back home in my unity. And then to realize that our souls, or we as our souls, did this willingly. We said, yes, we're going into this experience and grow with this duality experience, which you can only find in this world, in this earth. All this deep materialism, all this very deep coming here very small, and to forget that we are only actually part of the universe, that we are connected to it and dependent, that we're in a flow and that we are immortal. This fear to go all the way back where the deepest pain is, I separated me from myself. That was a going back very, very far, or going very, very deep. That's the same for me. And that's also where I found healing. And what do you mean by the idea as a human being on this earth of singularity? Oftentimes you feel very single. You feel like, this is me, here am I, and there's the earth. Well, I'm sitting on it, I'm walking on it, but it's something different. I see myself, well, as middle of my own universe, and everything around me is kind of a bit far away from me. Does it have anything to do with that? Yeah, it has something to do with this separation. When I go very, very deep into my inner self, and that's also something that I learned, then I connect myself with Earth and with Earth energy, with Mother Earth. I also call it Mother Earth or Lady Gaia. I'd rather say Lady Gaia. And it's a very own energy, and our body is exactly this energy. So when I start to connect myself with my body, then I'm getting there. And a lot of people are not really here. They are not completely in their body with the consciousness of being, I'm here and I'm living here, and I decided for this life in this body and to go into this matter and this, and I see all the beauty, not only the challenges but also the beauty. And the consciousness has to do with that I search responsibility in something else, may it be the world or people, but that I decide today that here is beauty, here is flow. I am allowed to get out of this drama. I got a very nice picture of this. We went to this theater, and then we had the leading actors and the other actors and the prompter and the director, and in this theater we played all the dramas that you could play. So about murder, rape, murderer, victims, everything. And at one point we said, that's enough for our soul, let's just leave. So we left the theater, and everything is different outside. So you have two options. Either you go back to the theater and take the next main part as an actor, or you go on the streets and just be driven somewhere to some place, and then you will arrive somewhere else, and then you arrive at yourself, and then you realize, oh, I don't need to have this role anymore. I don't have to play being a mother or a daughter anymore. I don't have to be a friend or a wife. But for example, in my case, I just decided to be a woman with different options to express myself. So to be yourself, yes, exactly. And this is to get out of this drama and to find yourself. And then you start investigating what kind of abilities am I lacking, what kind of potentials are in myself, what kind of opportunities do I have. And this means change and again change, and every change brings fear with itself because you don't know what's the new things. So it's like going to a new room again and again, and when you're on the doorstep you decide, do I want to explore this room or not? Or do I rather stay in my well-furnished, cozy, comfortable room where it's, well, boring because it's all the same, but yeah. And this decision to go through this door lets yourself grow. This is why we are here, to make experiences, to grow, to experience that there are new things, new opportunities, and you can only do this when you accept yourself. So loving yourself, also taking personal responsibility again. I'm intentionally saying learning again. It is like going back to school to refresh something. You know that you know language, but you don't really remember how this language works. Also letting magic back into your life. Magic doesn't have anything to do with witchcraft, but it has something to do with consciousness, with feeling consciously what is shown in small gentle things, and then to accept it and live with it and change the world with it. So we're talking about being self-aware and perception. You are very self-aware. You're aware of yourself in this moment when we're sitting here, and you define yourself in this Mother Earth. So you say you're coming from this earth, you're born as flesh and blood from this earth, and is, as long as we are a human being, we're in flesh and blood, we're connected to the earth. So how important is this connection for you between yourself as a human being with a soul that you feel and earth? What does this Mother Earth mean for you? It is the connection to feel myself, because we have a body to feel how it is to accept that what we experience, to feel it. Your body shows you all different reactions, all the way from complete love to complete hate. And since a couple of years, I'm working quite intensely via my body, so to say, that I'm talking with my cells when I'm talking to people. I'm sure that every cell has its own consciousness with which we can connect. And so you can activate a self-healing process more easily. You can also use methods, but actually it's all about asking your body, hey, what are you missing? What do you express when there's pain? What is the topic that you show me again in this? And that is also the connection to Earth. Also, Earth shows us sometimes with earthquakes, storms, hurricanes, and floodings. How can I clean myself without destroying myself? How can I let go something in the sense of changing something? I'm not someone who thinks that there are spontaneous healings, but I'd rather think that it is a long process, that we have to give something back to our body in order that it can heal itself. It's not in your mind, but your body heals. And the body also has its own nature, and to connect with this nature and tell it, hello friend, I need your help, come help me to get this whole thing going, working again. I support myself with it. Then you don't have to do it with your mind. then it's more like talking to a friend which is in charge of this apparatus, and then you can say, I need your help, I need your support to get this apparatus working again so it can regenerate. Otherwise, a Russian healing method, which is quite in style again, wouldn't be that effective anymore. Because people who can regrow something, they don't do it with their mind, with their consciousness. They do it with their body, they do it with trust in their body. They know the body can do it. And I think that trust is the only way to get out of dramas. I trust myself, my intuition, my inner freedom, my inner destiny. I also learned that God is not living in heaven, because when I was a young girl, I wanted to get in touch with God, but he refused to get in touch with me. And from that point on, for me, there wasn't a God anymore, because a God who takes everything from me that I love and then refuses to accept me, then it's not a God for me. Then it's just something without any sense. I was 5 or 6 years old, and then I closed up myself, because I thought, if I'm not allowed to love, if God takes everything from me that I love, then why should I feel God? What should I do with this God? And then reconciliation with the godly began. To realize that God, like the God we know from religion, isn't the God, but it's rather a force to keep people small, to keep them in their dramas. Guilt doesn't exist. It is only experience. And with this point of view, you change the whole religious system. That means that I have a very different, I'd call it spirituality, so I have a very different attitude towards life and religion on the end. So to bring my inner truth to the outside again and again, that isn't always easy. It sounds quite easy, but it is a way what is not easy at all, because you have so many blockades that keep you from doing that. And as soon as you give in, you become attackable again, and then you get burned or beheaded. So all experiences, and then you say, oh no, I'm not showing my force, I don't show myself, or I only do it in a very small circle of people. I have a couple of clients, and that's enough to survive. The next step is to show yourself, not only to be yourself, but also to be with everything that is there, even though you didn't arrive to yourself yet, you're not completely calm. So to overcome the barrier of the fear, to be judged or condemned, to be on yourself. Yeah. And this surroundings, they judge very fast. So when you do something that you usually should not do. I am a medium, so I deal a lot with the spiritual world, and I started, even without knowing that it's actually spiritual work, was when I started doing body work, and my body told myself the topic. So that craniosacral therapy. So then I realized this is the reason why we are here. So I thought, well, this is very interesting, but I didn't pay too much attention. So I didn't realize that I here have a very special ability. And so I developed myself further and further in this way, and then suddenly I came to a medium that channeled, and so and then I realized, like, you're channeling now, and I found, okay, well, I'm gonna do it. And that was my coming home, that was my home, this connection with so much wisdom to actually get access to this wisdom just with opening myself, opening my channels by allowing myself, in spite of my control and my mind, to express something that is not part of myself. So then I realized there is something that knows more than what I can never know, and that is what my clients profit from. Because I can connect to a source where I don't have to know what's really going on, but where I learn to trust that what I express or what I give to others is okay. Sometimes we have dialogues and something is channeling through me, but then my mind says, you're not allowed to say it. That is going too far. I don't want to take this responsibility now, so be quiet now. And what is it that you're doing then? Well, and then it keeps on talking through me, and then it says like, oh, do you know what's happening in this moment right now? Do you know what's happening in this moment? Then your mind tries to talk as well. It has a message for you. And then I start playing with my mind. And then my mind thinks, okay, I'm gonna sit down, be quiet, and just watch. And so I learned to put my mind aside by giving my mind a task. a task to just watch, perceive, and afterwards we're gonna talk about why they did what they did. Learn, then you can find new techniques. Just learn. So for me, mind and ego kind of means the same. It's not a fighting, but it is a new way, a new task, a new way of being. Why should I put something away that is so valuable, just limited? But it is open-minded to learn new things, and I don't have to do anything with it, and that is what allows myself to let through messages, like real messages, facts, how people can change their everyday life without my mind thinks, my mind rather watches, very interested, and sometimes when I do like a lineup, my mind sometimes thinks, wow, that was quite an interesting technique. So a bit like appreciation from something that is not explainable. And that is also the reconciliation of the mind and the unexplainable. And then I'm smiling a lot when I realize, oh yes, my mind says, what are they doing there? Very interested. And then there's like a this point, oh okay, it's because of that. I would have never thought that. And that is what makes it easier when you, in your work and in talking with people, you realize, wow, we're talking about things that wouldn't have been possible in any other way. We're talking from heart to heart, and it's not about the mind anymore. And I think that, well, in my point of view, the way from your head, your mind to your heart is one of the longest ways. Well, very nice. So it is a way when you start until you do it all the way down, like you cannot walk up again. So once you allow yourself, I take my mind with me all the way to my inner self, then you win. So you don't allow your mind anymore to have a control over yourself, right? No. Yes, that is the looking twice I was talking about. What's really happening? Sometimes my mind has the control. Sometimes it happens that it takes the control, yeah. But when it's very important for me, for example, in a talk about relationships or in my work, but in a, like in a, not in a la talk, but in a talk that's very important for me, my mind doesn't take control anymore. So when I, for example, hurt someone, because that's just happening, then my heart is talking, and then the story is alright. If I did it via my mind, I would have like very huge conflicts. Do you have like a small recommendation, like in a stressful situation you can deal with yourself? Yeah, I have like leadership training, and I told people there's no sense if you're stressed to be even more stressed. The chaos is only getting like larger and bigger. So sit down and take 10 breaths, just 10. Sit down. You don't have to turn off your mind or your consciousness or anything. Just sit there and take 10 breaths. Very consciously breathing. You count to 10 and then you keep on doing things, but with a quietness. Because then you can decide what is priority now, what can I do later. It doesn't take a lot, it just, you need to take a break from this rat race, a break, and you can take a break everywhere. Just stand up. Sometimes I'm also a bit confused and I tell myself, stop. What am I doing again? I feel so chaotic, so unbalanced. Stop. Only the word stop is sufficient, and then I automatically take a deep breath. So say stop and keep on breathing very chaotically. That's not possible. Yeah, then you wouldn't have said stop and you just said something. Yeah. What is going on? What is really going on? What is driving me crazy now? What kind of perfectionist is driving me again? Is it the opportunity, the possibility to slow down a situation and look from a distance? Also, even if it's only for like a second, yeah, exactly. And then you can give a new impulse. Yes, exactly. And when you get out of the situation and you feel like, okay, this is feeling good for me, but it just takes a bit longer, then maybe you can become like a fly which is sitting on the ceiling and you can watch from this point of view. And yeah, this is a very good practice to get yourself out of a situation and watch from the outside. And so not to be involved anymore, just to watch from the outside, watch what are they doing in this moment. So what is going on there? And then you also get out of these emotions. Dissociate, watching from a distance. And that's also when you're in a fear and you can feel like you're in a field, and then just watch and perceive for like 10 seconds what is happening with my body now. And then you imagine a field where there's peace and composure. That's what you actually need right now. And then with your body you change the fields, being very aware. You go to the other field and it changes. So it changes your perception, right? Yeah, exactly. The emotions, the feelings of your body, because then you understand what serves you and feeds you, what brings joy. Yeah, and very nice feeling, and then you got out of the situation. So it really means like stop getting out, stop. So feeling yourself, feeling that I'm outside of myself. And why do we always make this experience of barriers and boundaries? Why do we always move away from ourselves? What is that? What kind of phenomenon is that? But going away from ourselves is the old pattern which we experienced for hundreds of years, that we're separated, and now there's a time that we can experience again. So kind of like the experience of a wheel, that we realize, oh, now we're coming back. So here was the deepest darkness, and now we're going home again. So step by step, when we keep on walking, we realize what we did, and it's very old patterns of behavior that take time. So we have to experience, yes, it's also working without it. You cannot, you can realize like, but then the work only begins. To change patterns is work, and nobody can take or make this work for you. Every therapist, every consultant, every person that accompanies you, maybe teachers or friends, whoever, they can only show you, look, there is a way, and there's another possibility, and depending on what pattern you have, it takes longer or shorter until you go and start this way. There's a very nice old story about it. You walk and then you fall into a hole, and there's no ladder, nothing. How do I get out of this again? Only with a lot of work you get out of it again. And then on the next day you walk on this street again and you fall to the hole again, but the ladder is still in there from the day before. So it's easier to get out again. So on the third day you walk this street again. And then you think like, oh, wait a moment, there is a hole, so I'm gonna walk around it. And on the fourth day, you just take another street. So, yeah. This is a very nice story about how you can change behavior patterns, being patient with yourself, to accept yourself, to smile about things, about oneself. And when you meet a behavior pattern again, you can say, oh, hi again, let's just have a cup of tea. So see things with a smile on your face and with humor and without being upset about yourself. Like, oh, I fell down that hole again. So you could rather say, okay, well, I just fell down again, but this time I can get out of it more quickly, more easily. So humor is quite a strong tool which we actually don't use that much. Not in general, but I think a lot of us don't use it that much. Yeah, it's because life is such a serious thing. We learned that life is a very serious matter. Like, we have to work, we have to prove ourselves, and smiling is only something for kids. And to let your inner child laugh and play again, this is how you can bring back your visions, and you can also change them, bring them into the world, not with your mind, but with feeling. A vision is that you perceive something, for example, building or an imagination, and then you have to bring it down, and bringing down is to feel how it is. So if you manifest something, then it's not enough to say, oh, I need a parking lot. But if you want to manifest something, then you have to feel it and realize that you already have it, and you have to have it. I'm stressing that. It's not like I want to have it. Eventually it's gonna come to me, but you have to have it yet. And then you can start. And then you have it. So you do archery? Yeah. You, with your arrow already hit the goal, right? Yeah. So if I'm only wishing for something, I don't have it. And if you have a wish and it doesn't feel right, maybe you're not the right wish carrier. Maybe you cannot fulfill this wish. So I think if you deal with the way of the arrow and not the goal itself, then your vision is on the way and not on the goal. And how should you ever arrive at the goal? And also, like, arriving at your inner self. It doesn't make any sense to have a vision what it's gonna be like when you're enlightened, because you don't know what it's like to be enlightened. So the journey is the reward. So every step that you take brings you a bit closer to your goal, to more consciousness, to more open-mindedness, to more mysteries, to more potentials and abilities, and to new things. If you asked me like half a year ago, you're doing an online congress, I would have said, you're crazy. Like, I don't have anything to do with internet. And I'm for sure not going to get in touch with anybody or text anybody and ask for interviews. So what did I do? I had an intuition, like a request which was so absolutely clear that I couldn't do in any other way. I mean, I could have done it differently. I would have just put it next to me. But then my mental leader or my higher self, my soul would have found different ways so that I can finally show myself, so that I can finally accept that I don't have to be perfect to be seen. So just the way that I am, and the way I am, it's fine. And that's what it's all about. I don't have to change anything. I can grow, but I'm absolutely okay the way I am. Sometimes my actions aren't that great or okay, sure, but I am okay. This okay is the essence. And then you do things that you actually would never ever do. And then you realize, oh, that's fun. And it was a motivation out of my heart. And then that's also why we found so great interview partners. If we did it only by our mind, we wouldn't have worked with all these great people. And I also think that interview partners would have talked in a different way. It would have been different talks. Yeah. I mean, they would have also been quite interesting. Yeah, sure. We would have also learned quite a lot, but it would have been quite differently. And that is what touched me a lot, is to realize that when you follow your personal heart, I never did it that strongly like in this recent time. Just to follow your heart, then everything is fine. Then there's just a flow. You do your processes, but yeah, it's just a flow. And that's what I want to tell everybody who is watching here, that just follow your heart and just do it. Well, I would just take this as your life slogan, or like your life motivation. Is this and would also just take it as a final words of this very nice talk with you. And thank you very much for this talk, Vanessa. You're welcome. And yeah, also thank you for the Onlinekongress.